What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Paper Jacket Podcast. Now, I know each and every one of you are listening to this podcast usually to get an idea of what another business owner, or maybe you're a business owner yourself and want to get some advice from them. Well, in today's episode, we have Richard from Climate First Bank out of St. Pete, Florida, also Volusia County, Florida, ultimately Florida, that offers great banking solutions for your business or for residential purposes. Check out this episode and see what kind of resource your business can utilize from Richard. Richard, thanks for joining our podcast today, man.
Thanks for having me here, Jeremy.
Yeah, so go ahead and let our audience know. What do you do, man?
I'm a commercial banker for Climate First Bank. We're chartered. It's a federally insured bank. The main branch is in St. Pete, but I was recently hired to grow out this market, Volusia County. So
nice.
You're going to have to help make it interesting. Banking can be sometimes dull, but
so for some of our audience, they're just going to yawn and think, oh, numbers, like my wife, right? Where me,
sure,
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, bank, all right, let's talk business, baby.
Money, right?
Yeah.
People like money. So, I mean, it has an impact of what we do beyond the bank. What I do specifically has an impact on the community. We're a community bank. It's kind of community focused. And so here in DeLand, we do a lot of financing of some of the buildings up and down this street, a lot of the businesses that you are familiar with in the area. So it is kind of incorporated into everyday life, right? So, yeah, it is. It's more than just the numbers, right? So
now, something to notate is that you guys are not a brick and mortar bank.
We have a few brick and mortar locations. So we just
over in St. Pete.
St. Pete is our main branch. It's a very nice branch. That's kind of the main one. That we opened at the end of last year was the grand opening. There is the one I kind of work out of, sort of. I work from home, but we do have a branch in Winter Park and one in Orlando, and then there's a small branch in Mount Dora that will become a full size branch. Yeah.
So hold on a second. You went from St. Pete to Mount Dora. You just like skipped over Tampa, which is where our mothership is over at Paper Jacket.
I mean, Tampa, we service Tampa out of the St. Pete branch.
You St. Pete people like to skip over Tampa, don't you, Richard?
No, it's, I mean, St. Pete is a big market for us. And, I-4 corridor, 95 is kind of where we do a lot of the community bank loans.
Right.
But we do lending in all 50 states. So the solar part of our bank is a big piece of this.
Yeah.
And so we do kind of have a really robust digital overlay on the bank. So to answer your question, we do have all the online services that you would look for to provide our customers the same type of service that don't have necessarily a brick and mortar by them, close to them. So
what would you say is the other pros and cons of having primarily online versus as brick and mortar like others, like Regions, Bank of America, so on and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, probably twofold, right? So we're, as a climate-focused bank, we try to reduce our impact on the climate. All of our branches are LEED certified, and we've been net neutral since the inception of the bank. So to kind of reduce the impact, but also to save some money, and that money is then returned to customers in high yield products. So we do have typically top of the market yields on most of our savings accounts, checking accounts, business money market accounts. We started a nonprofit banking, kind of banking for good is what it's called. So where we'll return a pretty high yield on those CDs and products. And that's done primarily through savings of not having a lot of brick and mortar. Also thinking about where banking's going. I mean, how many times do you really walk into a bank anymore?
Whenever I have to, I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So to have all those services at your fingertips, both for commercial customers and residential customers and consumers, really is kind of the focus of the bank. But still a place that a couple branches, brick and mortar, you can still walk into.
I feel like high yield savings accounts are not talked about nearly enough, and many young people are just not aware of them.
Yeah, and I think that's, obviously it's nice to have your savings, and that's usually the primary function. Get a savings account, save some money, have a little nest egg. But to not have it just sit there and not make you money is kind of a disservice. So that's where we do pay a significant yield on our interest rates on the savings accounts, so your money can grow,
Right.
and actually earn a little bit, not just sitting there as a nest egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say Climate First tries to focus on for the most part? Is it usually more commercial, usually more, what would you say, residential retail? Is that-
Yeah, residential, retail,
Yeah,
consumer lending, because
there you
that's
go.
what most people are familiar with, right? I
Yeah.
mean, most people are familiar with, depositing your check and going occasionally getting a car loan or getting a home equity line of credit. We have all those products, and that is a big part of what we do. We have a full service mortgage division as well, but we do more than that. So we do also commercial banking. That's my focus, and not just specific commercial banking, but through the lifestyle of a business. We have everything from the very beginning of a bank's or a company's inception, startup, asset-based lending, factoring, SBA loans, which is, government product, through the commercial, kind of traditional commercial banking. And at the end, ESOP lending, so employee stock option purchases of business. So to take your business from inception through the growth and the life cycle of it, all the way till the end and where as a founder, you can now turn this business that you spent your life in typically, over to your employees to see it kind of in the next generation. So that's a big part of what I do at work, is the commercial side of it, but we have all the products, and that's a big thing for our bank, is to be able to provide all the banking services that anybody would need.
So when it comes to let's say a small business that has been banking elsewhere, or just they just open it up, and whether it was the main ones like Bank of America or maybe a smaller one, whichever. As they start talking to you, what are usually the points that you try to bring up to say, here's what makes us different and what could help you?
Yeah, I mean, people talk about relationship banking, and that's, that for me really hits home. I've been in this market. I've born and raised here, multi-generational DeLand person. So, the businesses and the people behind the businesses really matter to me. And I get to see and be a small part of some of their success, right? And try to help them grow their business, whether it's a contractor or a downtown merchant here in DeLand. So you establish relationships with people and you become friends with them. And you end up kind of growing with them, through a decade plus of banking. You see them have kids, you see them kind of go through the life cycle of a business, and you help guide them appropriately. So the relationship aspect is really important for me. And that's a big part of kind of what we do. That's a key focus of our bank.
And also to talk about Climate First, right?
Yes.
So there seems to be this brand approach to what you guys believe in.
Correct.
And stuff like that. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So, I mean, that's the ethos of the bank, right? Is to kind of centered in that it's not just profit. It's we pay attention to the people, the planet, and profit, and show that you can do and pay attention and do good for all three of the things. And it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive, right? You can be a profitable bank and still care about the environment. Like I said before, we're net neutral and have been since inception. We've done over $400 million in solar loans and put solar on 8,000 rooftops, and so that's not only stabilizing the utility grid, but it's also kind of reducing or at least stabilizing your utility expenses. And a third of those are in low to moderate income areas. So further kind of stabilizing their financial situation.
How long have you been in banking, or how long have you been with Climate First?
I've recently moved over to Climate First. Probably it's been less than a year, actually. Been in banking for a long time, and doing the kind of the similar banking in this area. But moved over in April of 2025. And it's been really fun. It's been a really fun kind of journey. It's been reinvigorating, kind of being with the culture that fits me. So it's been fun to still provide the traditional banking services and there's that relationship aspect of it, but still do it in an environment that it kind of fits me. So it's been really exciting.
I think some people or some businesses that begin who don't need like a loan up front kind of thing, they probably don't put a lot of value in their bank, probably.
Not typically. It's not something you usually think about until you need it. And
so
especially
talk
on the
about that.
commercial side, you become I'd hate to say become a number at the bigger banks, but that's the reality is a lot of the kind of customers our size are, they don't have a full service commercial person in the office at the brick and mortar. They have to set up an appointment and kind of go through all that where, that's all I do is commercial banking. And so I'm in it every day. I can, because I work from home, I can come see you at your business. I can be kind of more attentive to your needs, and meet you out at a job site or, at your office to really uncover and have a real kind of communication with you and what your problems are, what you're trying to solve, what your plan looks like, and be a partner in that, like I said. So kind of be more of a financial partner in that regard and an advisor.
I know from my experience when I owned a business, I actually had Bank of America because I just, went to the easiest thing.
It's closest,
right?
Yeah, sure.
And it's nothing I never need a loan for per se or anything big. But I tell you what, I had my personal representer, whatever, personal banker, if you would. Never knew me by name. I couldn't ever call him, could never get a hold of him. I would walk in, and after about 5 minutes, they're like, "Oh, you are blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
I never, ever had a true relationship with a banker.
Yeah.
And so years later, as I've developed an understanding of like banks like you and stuff like that, who like, oh, we actually care about that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big part of our business.
Client.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It makes a big difference because when I have just a simple phone call I need to make, the only way I could really get an answer, I have to go into Bank of America.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're available and not on lunch.
You're right. And all my customers have my cell phone. It's the only phone I have. I don't have an office phone. I work on my cell phone for that reason. Because if you have a problem or you have a question, pick up the phone and call me. And they know they can get a hold of me. And I think that's a big value to them. I had lunch with a customer downtown today. And on the way home, spoke to multiple customers on the drive home, where they just picked up the phone and called me about a potential purchase or something that they're looking to do for their business to expand their business. And so having that relationship that you've built over years kind of, makes it easy for them to pick up the phone, get a question answered. I can answer their questions. And then I also know what your plan is. So it's not just reactive, it's being proactive and knowing what is your plan for the year. Are you planning to expand? Are you planning to grow? Are you going to need to finance equipment? What's the best way to finance that equipment? Do you need to grow your, are your receivables growing? Is your inventory growing? Do we need to finance that? And so there's that relationship kind of similar to like you would have with a CPA or an attorney is really important with a banker as you're growing a business.
Absolutely. And, so let's go back to the high yield savings product you got. It's a higher interest and stuff like that. Help kind of. I know you can't give out exact numbers because they change all the time.
They fluctuate, sure. Yeah. We're high threes, low fours is kind of where we're at. And that's so, from a CD perspective and low fours, and this is obviously subject to change because it all changes.
It all changes by the time someone's watching this.
But to give you an idea, we're going to be near the top of the market typically on our yield. So, on the savings accounts, closer to fours, CDs in the fours, 4.25. Money market accounts for businesses, kind of similar. So it depends on the product, but we're going to be typically near the top of the market for FDIC insured institutions.
And just so that our audience is aware, because again, some like when I start talking about high yield savings to like my family members, they're like, high yields, you have a savings account. It's like, no.
Yeah, it's 1%.
So like,
or it's
but a high yield savings is not, they automatically they think if it's high yielding, that means their money has to stay there for a little while, like a CD or something like that.
Sure.
But that's not what it is.
No, these are liquid. And so you can move money in and out of it. And that's, the benefit of a savings account is it doesn't have to be stuck there like a CD. A lot of our CD products currently do not have the early withdrawal penalty either. So that's kind of a benefit of our CDs currently. But to your point, it's nice to have your money work for you, right? And so when you've worked hard enough to have a significant savings account and a significant balance, it's nice to have it, give you a return on that money. So, and then that for us is an important part of our business, right? We take your deposits. Banking's pretty basic. Yeah. We take your deposits, we lend it back out, we make a little bit of a margin on that, and you do that at a high volume, and that's banking. And so for us, that because we're growing so fast as a bank, we really value those deposits and we'll pay you appropriately for them, so we can then lend it back out and help the community. So.
Now, I know that some banks offer credit cards and stuff like that, or they're wanting to wait until a business is 2 years old before they do anything like that. Like, where do you guys usually fall in that situation?
Typically, conventional banking is typically 3 years in. That's kind of, your traditional banking, commercial banking. You usually want to have a trend. So you want to see at least 3 years. But before that's kind of what I mentioned, we recognize there's a portion of businesses that haven't had 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Startups. So we do have, a factoring or an asset-based lending division that can take some of those startups and early businesses to the next stage, which is usually SBA lending from the government, where the government steps in and provides a guarantee for the banks to kind of take the risk on these established businesses that are moving to the next stage. And then we'll follow them into your kind of conventional commercial banking. So to be able to provide that whole life cycle of the bank within the same institution is important, right? You don't have to go to another person. They're all Climate First Bank employees. And so that the communication and the pass to those different divisions is really smooth. And so that's important for businesses that are growing as well.
What would you say is a common error or common mistake that many new businesses that are starting out make when they first go into banking?
I mean, we talked about planning. I think that's a big part of it. And I'll be biased and say the relationship piece is important, because that's how we've kind of established this business, and how I've really, been a good banker in this market is through relationships. And being open with your banker, I think, is important, and telling them really what you're trying to accomplish, because you might not have all the answers, and the banker has seen a lot of scenarios. That's the benefit of being a banker and working with a specific type of business. We've probably seen other businesses similar, if not in the same industry.
Right.
And we can help guide you in and to avoid some of the pitfalls that some of those other businesses have been through. And so
what would you say a pitfall example might be?
Growing too fast can be an issue, and knowing which kind of contracts that around here, it's construction driven. It's Central Florida. We're a big construction area. So, to understand what kind of contracts you're looking for, what kind of contracts to avoid, how to grow, how to finance your receivables, how to finance your inventory for working capital. Appropriate leverage is important too. But also knowing the ancillary things, like you're going to grow. That means you're going to have to buy, in certain cases, equipment or trucks or vehicles. And that's going to increase your interest or your insurance expense. And so some of the things that you just sometimes don't think about and you need to plan for, just planning ahead, I think, and having those reps and seeing those businesses before you really is, again, it's an advisor, right? And it's free. I mean, this isn't it's not like a big pay to talk to somebody. They pick up the phone and call me a lot. And so just to have those conversations with your banker and have that comfort level with them. Yeah.
I think that is so often we think, oh, I need to do everything myself in this sense. And it's like any business will tell you, what helped them grow, what helped them, establish their business to do well is partnering up with good advisors, partnering up with good people like a banker.
Yeah. We're a big part of it. Yeah. People don't really think about it. To your point, you don't really think about it too much until that need arises. But for me, it's important. And a lot of this for me, I've been thankful to, I feel like I've been a good advisor and a good banker for a lot of businesses locally. And so I have a really positive word of mouth and strong kind of connections through, hey, my banker Richard really helped me out. Why don't you call him if you have a problem? Yeah. And to start establishing that communication and those relationships early is important. Yeah.
So I know you're in DeLand, Volusia County,
yes,
Florida, but what is your ultimate, does it matter who contacts you?
No, it doesn't. So specifically Florida is where we do most of our commercial lending. That's kind of our footprint. So we try to stay there, but we will go anywhere. And so I think we talked about it before. We've lent solar in all 50 states. We can do that through kind of our, like we talked about, the digital overlay that we have, and the bank owns a fintech company. So to be able to use that fintech company to provide the application process and the loan documents smoothly to somebody that's completely online that doesn't ever have to walk into a branch is important. So we can still service you if you're a believer in the mission and you want to kind of have your money do good. And where we have invested it as a bank into sustainable efforts. And so, we talk about, we didn't become successful despite the mission. It's because of the mission, right? And so people are attracted to that mission, and that doesn't just reside in Florida. So yeah, we can absolutely, bank anybody in all 50 states. Yeah.
Richard, how can someone contact you about maybe their business as they're getting going, whether 10 years down the road or first month down the road?
I'm like I said before, email and cell phone is big for me. I enjoy having conversations with people. So my cell phone is probably the best. Email would be, right on up there as the two forms of communication with me. We do have obviously online banking. You can go on there and ask a question and it'll get directed to me eventually. But those are the two best immediate ways to contact me.
How should they email you?
Richard.prescott@climatefirstbank.com.
And your phone number?
It's 386-804-5274.
All right.
Yeah.
Because that way I can dial you right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most of our audiences listening to this is a small business.
Yeah.
And they're, because what we do is we introduce them to many that could be good for their network.
Okay.
It gives good advice for them. And automatically it's like, here's a resource.
Yeah,
you guys
exactly.
can and should look into right away.
Yeah, exactly. And pick up the phone and call me and we can have a conversation about what you're specifically going through as a business. Yeah.
They really have no excuse.
That's right. Yeah.
You're right here,
That's
ready
it.
to give
me
them
a
money.
call.
What are we talking about?
It's an easy thing to sell, right? Everybody wants money as a business. So yeah.
Richard, thank you for being part of our podcast, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Toast.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.